Morning guys. Alright, what you're looking at here is the memorial service of Lord Thomas Brassey. 1918 this, and I'm playing this so that you can have a look at some of these controllers, or Freemasons, should I say. Couldn't tell you who any of them are, but he was a man of very high standing, as was his father, Thomas Brassey. I think he was a sir as well. So both of these guys were very influential in their own ways back in the Victorian times. So before we go any further, I want to have a look at this. Steampunk. Yeah, is that cool? Isn't that cool? Right. Steampunk. Wiki's got good entry on steampunk, but I've also got this one as well for an alternative look. So it's a subgenre of science fiction or science fantasy that incorporates technology and aesthetic designs inspired by 19th century industrial steam-powered machinery. Although its literary origins are sometimes associated with the cyberpunk genre, steampunk works are often set in an alternative history of the 19th century British Victorian era or American Wild West, in a future during which steam power has maintained mainstream usage. So they bypass electricity and they go straight into steam power. However, steampunk and neo-Victorian are different in that the neo-Victorian movement does not extrapolate on technology, while technology is a key aspect of steampunk. Neo-Victorian? Does it even exist? Well, I won't bother about that. So its most recognisably features anachronistic technologies, retro-futuristic inventions, and fictional machines like those found... Oh, here it is. Neo-Victoria's... I'll have a look at that some other time. Sorry about that. It's my laptop being its usual sluggish self. So these guys here, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, etc., are insiders themselves. So other examples of steampunk contain alternative history style presentations of such technology as steam cannons, lighter than air airships, analog computers, or digital mechanical computers such as Charles Babbage's analytical engine. So it's looking at technology that is powered with steam. Yeah. And this pretty much gives you the same explanation. It originated in the late 1980s, and these guys, science fiction author K.W. Jeter, who wrote Morlock Night, Tim Powers, The Ambuscades, I want to read all these books now, and James Blaylock, The Homunculus, they needed a term. Best known for their offerings in cyberpunk, Gibson and Sterling took their intimate integration of man and machine back to 1885. In this alternative industrial revolution, Charles Babbage's difference engine is not merely a curiosity but the norm, and now his analytical engine comes to fruition. The book centres around the struggle between the working class Luddites, who fear technology, and the upper class enhanced elite. From here the steampunk movement gained momentum. Yeah. Those books look interesting. So I think these guys, these steampunk guys, these ones who were originally writing this science fiction, knew that technology was being reused and steam driven, instead of electricity driven. It's almost like a reversal, do you see? Instead of being electricity driven, all of a sudden it now has to be steam driven. But with steampunk, it takes it that step further, so that modern technology that is now driven by electricity is still driven by steam. Everything. So let's go and have a look at our guides, and then you can see where I'm sort of trying to tie this in. So Thomas Brassey. He was just a magical architect. This is a list of structures that he made. These are all the railways that he built. The 1840s, 1830s, 1840s, the 1850s. Look at all that. 1860s. Unknown dates, France, elsewhere in Europe. Obviously he didn't build all these by himself, he contracted people, but he was all of these were attributed to him. They're all attributed to Sir Thomas Brassey. I don't think he was made a Sir. Was he made a Sir? I'm not entirely sure. Let's go back to his wiki page. Okay. So he had fairly humble origins, you know. He was born in a small village. His family were traced his family to Normandy in France, or I think it was Normandy. It might have been somewhere else, but it's definitely traced to France. And he was educated at home. Then he went to the King's School in Chester, and then aged 16 he was an apprentice to a land surveyor called William Lawton, and before too long he was taken into partnership, moved to Birkenhead, and then before long he was building aqueducts. He was building aqueducts, and then he became the sole manager of the company, and off he went. He just became Superman, absolutely Superman. I don't know who teaches them this stuff, where they get their knowledge from. It's obviously, you know, a chosen few who are sort of given this sort of like how to do this stuff. It's crazy. He meets George Stephenson, as you do, who needed stone to build something and got involved in that, and off he went. Built stuff in France, expansion went through Europe, Grand Trunk Railway of Canada, and then he built this place up in Birkenhead called the Canada Works, and this place just became like some sort of like hive of industry. It was something like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings or something. And it was just like, it had 40 furnaces, anvils, steam hammers, coppersmith's shop, fabrication, woodwork, pattern shops, library, everything. And up there they built trains, and later on ships and yachts. There's one of Brassey's steam engines on the Warsaw Railway. What's going on here? Yeah, he also invented some sort of like railway that was used by gravity, where you dragged things up. Oh, here's one of the ships. Okay, that's enough of that. Anyway, I found this blog on a site called RM Web, and I think it's a railway enthusiast site. But this guy has got a lot of interest in these trains that are built at Birkenhead, but you can't find any drawings, you can't find any plans, any drawings, and very, very few photographs either. And considering it was all done quite late, they can't find anything. They get some information, and they get a few photographs, but considering the number of trains that were built Anyway, they have these two. This one was to go to Denmark, and this one was to go to Italy. Isn't it beautiful? It's pretty steampunk, doesn't it? There does seem to be a certain unique style to these locos, and the Forth and Clyde Canadian GWR one with the outside frame around the cylinders, etc. So yeah, I think they were retrofitted. I think these were already about. I think the casings and the machines were already about, the wheels and everything on them, and they had to find a way of powering them, and they used steam. Okay. So I'll leave the link to this because there's a lot of information. But basically it's about the construction of the tunnel through the Swiss Alps. And it gives a lot of information about the original railway that went over and this fell technology, because they had to develop a certain sort of track line with this raised centre to stop them going over the edge. It's interesting. If you're interested in this sort of thing, it really is, you know. And I never thought I'd be interested in trains, but this is interesting, isn't it? So there's lots of photographs showing the area. This here, they call it an object of singular sublimity, one of which rises to the high... Oh no, maybe they're talking about the mountains. I don't know what that is. Excuse me, my stupidity. Right, so this is about the tunnel. So this is the machine that they say they invented for the tunnel. Right? It's a perforating machine. So it was designed and perfected by Sommelier and others. Two of these machines are working towards each other from opposite ends, and they were driven by compressed air generated by falling water at the portals of the tunnel, bearing in mind they're digging through bedrock. And these are the tables of the progress. 1857, they made quite good progress, yeah. How long did it take them to do it? Oh, well, in 1871 lots of stuff happened, but they did finish it and they opened it. So this is 1871. Now, there's a lot of photographs around of 1871, isn't there? I mean, there are photographs of Brassey dating from that period for a start. So how come there's just no photographs of this thing? And look at this one. 1871. And it's lit up. Like they lit the Eiffel Tower up and everything. And these windows here look lit up as well, don't they? Unless they're just reflecting the light from this, I don't know. It's all lit up all the way through. It's lit up. I don't think this is the opening. I think this is an earlier shot, maybe. Because the photographs that are showing here well, I say photographs, and none of them are photographs. They're all illustrations. They're all, well, apart from modern ones. Engraving. French opening of the tunnel in 1871. It's all lit up. Where's the photographs? It wasn't modern. This is them digging it. They dug it out. It's like all these other tunnels everywhere. They're already there, man. I'm telling you. Already there. Come on, give us a real photograph. It's an important time. Zilch. Oh, what's that? Drilling machine with compressed air. So using compressed air, which probably they would have used some steam powered machinery to drive it through. Yeah. Okay. Second Thomas Brassey. So this is the son. He was a British Liberal Party politician, the Governor of Victoria and the founder of the Navy Annual. This guy was, you know, they're just families of complete brilliance. Not only the father, but all the children, and the women all marry well, and everybody's does really well for themselves and has lots of nice houses, and their children go to nice schools, and they all do well as well. And why? Because they are like our chap here into this. He was a Freemason. He was initiated into the craft as an Oxford student in 1868, became a member of Abbey Lodge, 48 years there, member of Derwent Lodge number 4, founding member of Navy Lodge. Then he was the Governor of Victoria. While he had never held any lodge office, he was appointed Honorary Past Junior Grand Warden. So he was just an absolute darling of the establishment. This is his missus, and they had a whole pile of kids who all did extremely well for themselves as well, thank you very much. So he was involved in the committee that was involved in the Royal Opium Commission. So they had to decide whether the Indian opium export trade to the Far East should be ended. Oh God, yeah. And he had a friend called St Clare John Byrne who built yachts, and he built them up at Father Brassey's Canada Works up in Birkenhead. It's fantastic. So what a great coincidence. So he had a yacht called Sunbeam, and these yachts were pretty much like the whatchamacallits, the planes. You can't find any of them. The trains, you can't find any photographs of them anywhere. This is a good site. I'll show you this in a minute. Right, so let's have a look back at my friend St Clare John Byrne. Sinclair John Byrne. So he was a British naval architect who specialised in the design of luxury yachts during the late Victorian, early Edwardian period. So his father was an Irish ship owner. He was a merchant's clerk, and then magically he built himself a yacht. He built his own yacht. 1856. When was he born? When he was in his 20s. Absolutely marvellous. And then he was designing larger vessels constructed in iron for the shipyard. Brassey, Pathe and Betts. How long do you think it would take to get that amount of knowledge? How long do you think? So he's a merchant's clerk and born in 1831. So when he was 20, which was 1851, he was a merchant's clerk. But by 1856 he was a member of the Royal Mersey Yacht Club, and by the mid-1850s he was designing big yachts. He was designing iron yachts, merchant ships in the 1870s, and he designed a steam auxiliary barkentine yacht for Thomas Brassey of a composite construction called Sunbeam. It was a 532 tons, 159 foot in length. These were all retrofitted. These were all old stuff, and then they steampunked them up, man. Telling you, they were actually driven by steam as well. Here's a bunch of the boats. Yeah. Here's the weights of them. That one, 639 tons. Yeah. 530. I mean, they might not all have been old stuff, but I strongly suspect that even when they were building new ones, they were taking old stuff apart. Always the same people involved, always the same names, same families, all members of the same Freemason club. Here's some of the boats. Again, you'd think there'd be loads of pictures, wouldn't you? Hardly any, just dries up. You think that there'd be absolutely loads of photographs of these things. These are from private collections, and this one is one of his yachts, which was sold on to the US Navy and was used to tether balloons from in the First World War. And they had like these tethered kite balloons, I think they were called. And people used to go up in them. It was quite a dodgy situation. Oh, my cats are fighting. And see if they can spot any enemy ships coming in. So they were good enough to be requisitioned. That's how solid and steady they were. Iron hulled yachts. Steampunk. So steampunk. Just trying to find the literature. Here we go. So William Gibson and Bruce Sterling's novel The Difference Engine is often credited with bringing about widespread awareness of steampunk. This novel applies the principles of Gibson and Sterling's cyberpunk writings to an alternative Victorian era where Ada Lovelace and Charles Babbage's proposed steam-powered mechanical computer, which Babbage calls a difference engine, was actually built and led to the dawn of the information age more than a century ahead of schedule. This sounds awesome, doesn't it? Hey, these are people who knew damn well what was going on. Steampunk gramophones, everything steampunk, love it. Everything driven by steam. It's almost taking the mickey, isn't it? Hey? Because I think that John St Clare's iron boats, and I think that William Brassey's, Thomas Brassey's that's the old one. So trains were old stuff steampunked up with steam, with actual steam. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you get a little bit of something out of this. My interest in Thomas Brassey actually comes from my research into this estate, because I think this is a mud flood estate. I've got some bits more evidence, and Thomas Brassey was originally going to have a square named after him here, Brassey Square, and the estate was allegedly built in a strange shape to accommodate the railway that runs along the side, which Thomas Brassey and co built. But the Brassey Square thing never happened because there was a lot of problems with funding for money for the estate. People dropped out who were supporting it, benefactors, etc., and a whole new bunch of people took over. That happens a lot in these building stories. Happened with Vauxhall Bridge, happened with Millbank, happens with lots of things. But I think that he was initially involved in it, but didn't think it was going to work out, and it actually did in the end. But I don't know, that's for another video. I just hope you got a little bit of something from this one. It's just a bit of research for me to fill up a Friday hour or so. Thanks for watching.